I feel like you're old friends because I've been listening to your podcast.
Hi, I'm Maddie.
And I'm Abigail, and this is
Two writers.
Many Wrongs. Jandy Nelson is author of the New York Times bestselling young adult book, I'll Give You the Sun, as well as The Sky is Everywhere, and most recently, When the World Tips Over. She has two MFAs, one in poetry and one in writing children's and young adult books. She resides in San Francisco and loves rivers, hot weather, the redwoods, tulips, magic, finger foods, and so much more. She aspires to be a wobbly people pole that tries to bring joy into the world, not one that takes joy from it. And I gotta tell you guys, she has brought me and like everybody in my circle so much joy with her books. I'm so excited for her to be here. Thank you for coming. It's so funny, actually. I was telling Maddie back in 2014, I had just been rejected from all the grad schools I applied to and like was about to graduate from my undergraduate. And I emailed you and
You
was like,
did?
I did. And I emailed you and was like, I just have to tell you, like, I love and hate your books because they're everything I want to be. And like, they make
Oh my,
me realize, like,
oh
how
my,
far I am from that goal.
no. Oh my
Because
God.
yeah, no,
I can't believe that.
it was great. And so because entering grad school, I wanted to write YA. Like all of my short stories was YA, everything that I ever read was YA. Um, and you wrote me back in 2016
Oh, two
and
years later.
you started off the whole thing. You were like, I'm so sorry this took so long. And said just the nicest, like most encouraging things. But I got that email the first week that I was in grad school. And
Oh
like,
my
it was just
God.
so perfectly serendipitous that
Oh, how wonderful.
I feel like it's something that would happen to one of your characters, like that divine intervention kind of
Oh
thing.
my God, I love that. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So you went. How was it?
It was good. It's actually where Maddie and I met for grad school. So that was really lovely. But it's funny, I went through the grad program and I started writing my first novel and it was adult fiction. And I was like, what the heck is this?
Wow.
Why? Like,
Amazing. That's amazing.
thanks. But I still have such a love for YA and a love for your books. And it's funny. So my mom, she read your books first. And since I was finishing up my undergrad program, she was like, I know you don't have time to read right now. So I'm going to send this to your best friend and she's going to read it because I have to know if they're as good as I think they are. And
Oh,
my best friend read it and she was like, this is such a good book.
oh
and
my
so,
God. That
and so
makes me
like
so happy. Can I
all of
live here? Can we
us.
just all three live
Oh
together
my gosh,
on this
seriously.
podcast
No, no,
forever?
yeah. I like I told Maddie is like I had such a hard time writing these interview questions because all I want to do is just sit here and gush. But like I
Oh
have to
my
remember
God.
to ask questions
Well,
too.
thank you. This is me. I'm having such a hard time writing right now. So like this is so wonderful. Thank
Oh,
you. I
no,
really, really
I
appreciate it. And I'm so happy you're writing and you're doing this podcast.
yes, yes. No, it's been so helpful for both of us because leaving grad school, we really struggled to like find that community again. And both of us felt very isolated. And so Maddie actually is the one who put together our writing community. And
Yeah.
she's the one who reached out and was like, do you want to do a podcast? And I was like, I
Wow.
mean, if I can talk to my favorite authors, I'll do anything, any excuse for that.
It's great. It
So,
really did make me feel like these last few days, like I was part of a community again. Like it was really,
oh,
and it was
yay.
also like so helpful in certain ways to hear certain things. Like I'm looking up what's a Kindle Scribe. I don't know
Oh,
what that is.
oh, oh
Just like all this
man.
stuff. It's like, and it's interesting because I feel like I do know things about you guys now. Like you, like me, are completely unplotted pantser, and you like
Yes.
are, yeah, it's pretty
Oh
fun.
my gosh, that makes me so happy. So I do want to get into that. So Unplotted Pantser, When the World Tips Over is multi-generational saga.
Oh,
How do you start approaching that when you don't have a plot to go off of?
well, so with that book, I mean, it started, have you read it? It started because of this house.
Yes.
So, right. So I would pass this house when I was revising my other books.
Hmm.
And so every time I'd pass it, I'd stop and traipse around. And I can't really give away the spoiler, but I had a scene that I kept seeing. And then as time went on, like I started seeing more of the characters with Miles and definitely
Hmm.
saw Dizzy and saw Winton.
Yes.
And then over time, I was thinking, but what about their parents? But what about the generation before that who built the house? So that's how it built. But that was years. And that was when I was still writing I'll Give You the Sun. So it sort of
Wow.
Yeah, and even like there was one point actually, I think what I also keep saying is like that book is basically everything I've ever wanted to write in
Hmm.
one, because I always wanted to do this multi-generational family saga and of a Northern California family, but I didn't think this was this book at first. I really
Yeah.
thought I was going to have the Cassidy story and the sibling story.
Hmm.
And then I was just like, holy shit, it's the same book. It's all one book. And so that was like a revelation that it was daunting, but I was like, yes,
Yeah.
I'm going to do everything I've ever wanted in this
I
one.
I
And
love it. It blends together so beautifully. And I love that your books always have like just that tinge of magical realism to it, like Dizzy seeing the floating ghosts. And I just you did it so beautifully how it all ties back together, like I was teaching my students the other day about Chekhov's gun, and like I
yeah,
feel like that's what those ghosts were. It's like, okay, I know they're important. I know something's going on. And then to have it all come back together and have Miles finally have that sense of like belonging, and like it was a very, very satisfying read, the way that everything came together.
thank you. That really makes me happy. I mean, with your last question, it was to do with like being a pantser or whatever, being a person who doesn't really plot. It was
Hmm.
after writing I'll Give You the Sun, where because you both are working in multiple points of
Hmm.
view. So
Yeah.
I read, do you ever read Barbara Kingsolver's Poisonwood Bible?
I haven't read that one yet.
I read it. No.
Right, for different points of view because all the voices are so distinct.
Okay,
And
I'm
I
writing
just,
that down.
yeah, I really, it was really helpful to me. But when I was writing Noah and Jude, at first I started, okay, I'm just going to alternate because I want, and at the very beginning, Noah was the same age as Jude. I didn't know that it would
Mhm.
be in different time frames. But then I realized that I was never going to be able to write the book like that. Like I had,
Mhm.
then I realized Noah's story was going to be 3 years before, and I had to write them separately. And so I like literally closed the file on one and
Wow.
did not even go back to Jude. Didn't go back to Jude for a year. Like I just made myself work on Noah, exclusively because I
Hmm.
didn't want their voices to blend too much, even though they were siblings and twins. I knew there would be some blending, but I wanted to deal
Hmm.
with that later. And then, so I did Noah, and then I did Jude again, not letting myself go back to Noah, and then took a million years to braid them together. But when the world tips over, I thought, oh, I'll just do it like that because I knew I
Hmm.
had all these. There's basically 4 novels in that book,
Yeah.
but I realized that like I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't write Dizzy's whole story or Winton or Miles. It was completely different. So I had to, then I realized that what I really have to do is write the 4 novels separate, like the four different.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's how I do it as a pantser. Like had I
Hmm.
thought of that ahead of time would have, or even knew to do that, it would have been really helpful.
The the second book, the one that I'm editing right now, is multiple POV and multiple timelines. And so I actually went back and reread I'll Give You the Sun to kind of help figure out some of that inspiration of how to problem solve it. And now this new book that I'm starting on, I went to Maddie. I was like, teach me how to plot because it's
I
time
know.
travel and I
Me
don't know
too.
what I'm doing.
Me too, please.
Right. But I mean, just thinking about that, like I had the sticky notes of like each different POV and each different timeline and like trying to put them in the best order. And yet I read I'll Give You the Sun and I'm like, well, that makes perfect sense because this piece of information is revealed and that piece of information is revealed. And like just the fact
Nightmare.
that Noah and Jude are kind of pining over the same boy, and like it's so beautiful because I'm yelling at the pages like it's the same one. Or like the struggle that Jude is going through in Noah's timeline, and then to see what that damage has done to her in her present. It does, it
Oh
just blends together so
my
well.
God. Well,
I have
thank you
so
so
many
much.
questions written down
How
and
do
I'm
you
just going to
guys
keep
do it?
gushing.
No, I'm curious. So like if you don't, because if you don't write your threads separately,
Mhm.
you just go for it every chapter. You're like, that's incredible.
So this was the first book that I took. I think it's like Stephen King's advice because I also my husband got me master class for a year and I watched every single writing master class that I could. And so I think it might be Stephen King, but I'm not positive. But basically their advice was write the next thing you know. And so I knew that the book was gonna have different timelines. I knew it was gonna have different POVs. And so basically I'd be like, okay, I know that I want to have a scene where the girls are trapped in the bunker. And I know I want to have a scene where they escape. And I know I want to have a scene of this boy in high school finding these notes. And basically I just wrote the scenes that I knew. And then I'd be
Right.
like, how does he get the note?
Yeah.
Then I'd have
Yeah.
to problem solve from there, you know?
Right.
You give me so much anxiety thinking.
It is anxiety producing.
It really is. But
That's great advice though when you're stuck. I mean, it's
Mhm.
funny, the other day I'm writing this new book now and I was stuck like 2 weeks. I'm just staring at the screen going, what I created a situation where this girl travels across the country and she gets where she's going and they embrace her and take her in. And then I'm just like looking at the screen for 2 weeks saying, okay, I don't have nowhere to go. And then I
Right, yeah.
realized it was like, it's so unfortunate that you don't remember anything book to book, or I don't anyway, about how to
Mhm.
write a book.
Yeah.
So, and then I was
Oh,
thinking, holy shit, oh my God, this is like, and you go back to the point and you're like,
Yes.
there's no conflict, first of all. And like everybody embraces her. It's like book over. Like,
Yes.
you know,
And it's sometimes, like, I'm so bad at being mean to my characters.
I know.
Like, reading what Cassidy had to go through with her mother was so hard. I can't imagine having to write that because you have such compassion for her mom and the mental health issues that she's going through, but also just thinking of Cassidy starving and, like,
Ugh.
just not being able to function while her mom goes through that depression must have been so difficult to write.
It was really
Oh.
difficult, but also in some ways, like that sections for me that there was so much at stake
Mhm,
and that they were kind of easy to write too, because
mhm.
it had propulsion because I was so worried about her.
Yeah.
And it's funny actually, because my first reader, who was a mentor of mine, because that book, when the world trips over, was like over 1,000 pages, and now it's
Mhm.
500. So
Gonna
when
say, it's nice and
Cassidy,
chunky, it's
yeah,
great.
when she got to the father, I'm giving away everything, but when she got to her father's house,
Mhm.
um, she I had to go on all through high school,
Yeah,
everything. And like this mentor was like, it's like, dude, once she's safe,
yeah,
over. We don't need any of that. And it was like,
yeah.
I always forget that because I have the same thing as you. Like, you just want everything to be okay for them, but
Mhm.
you can't. Like, I love that
Yeah.
what they say, you have to chase your characters up a tree and then you have to throw rocks at them on top
Yes.
of it. Yeah. So it's
And I
helpful.
I do, I struggle with that so much, but it is true. I mean, a happy story is sometimes boring, we don't learn a whole lot from it.
No.
I do want to ask, one of the things that draws me to your stories the most is writing about siblings. And my brother, he's an older brother, 3 years difference, one of my best friends. And like my mom always made it so that growing up, it wasn't an option, but to be friends. Like she always was very much like, I'm the common enemy, you guys are a team kind of thing. So
Beautiful.
I would love to, like, the relationship that Noah and Jude had was one of the first times that like I felt the relationship that my brother and I had because a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, I hate my sibling." I'm like, "I love my brother. We hang out all the time." So, where do you get the inspiration to write about these siblings? Cuz I mean, it's the same, all of your books just have these
I know.
beautiful
All
sibling
of them.
relationships.
It's funny. I'm very close with my siblings, like my
Mhm.
brothers. I have older brothers, and it's funny. My brother just came to town. It was actually for a surprise birthday party for me, but I didn't know. It was
Oh,
but
oh,
that's so
but it
lovely.
was this is very personal, but there was this moment where we were in my mother's apartment and it was just the three of us
Mm.
and her, and there was this feeling of just complete like peace. And it was like, I
Oh,
don't think we'd been together because there's spouses, there's kids,
yeah.
there's all this stuff. And it was just like this feeling. So I think that a lot of my desire to write about siblings come from this love that is so deep in me.
Mhm.
But also just I think as a novelist and as someone who likes drama, like I feel like there's nothing better than families. It is
Yeah.
just like the pressure cookers of for humor, for drama, for everything. Because I do feel like every family has its
Mhm.
own civilization with its own
Yes.
laws and its own humor and its own pathos. And So that's, I think, why I keep coming back to it. Though in this book I'm writing now, it is about family as well. Though this girl's alone. Look, just oh my god.
Exactly. A lonely child. That's how it always
I
feels.
know. I know. It's
I'm
so
so
dark.
sorry, Maddie.
Yeah.
I'm an only child, and
Oh,
that's accurate.
oh my
So.
god, my character's name is Maddie.
Aw, serendipity. I love it.
That is so weird that I've been listening to your podcast and didn't even put you two together in my mind till this
I love
moment.
that.
Is it Madeline?
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Or well, it depends on which side of the family you ask, actually. My dad's side of the family says Madeline, which
Oh,
is the doll.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
But my mom says it's Madeline, so but I say Maddie.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you spell it? The longer version.
It's like Madeline, like the
Okay.
book.
Yeah.
It's exactly like the book.
We are very connected now because besides for the name, but also I have a funny thing about Madeline, that book, because when I was a kid, my mother would only read me that book. Only. Yes. Oh my God. So it got to a point, like, I can't tell you how much I fucking hate that book when I was a kid because it was all I got. Like, could we please have like Harold and the Purple Crayon, whatever.
Anything is
I like it now, and I do like it. I
Sure.
love the name, obviously, but it was just like there was a period there. I was like, please, no.
Did you ever ask your mom why was that the only book?
She loves it. She loves
Oh
I
my God.
have talked to her about it recently. She just
Yeah.
she adores it. She loves it more than anything. I also wanted to say to Maddie, I have lots of friends that are only child and only children, and they're not lonely at all. So that was a really just a slip up.
No, it's just funny because like it is true sometimes.
Yeah.
You're the only one there.
Well, it's
Yeah.
funny too. My brother married an only child, and so she's very, hyper independent, used to doing things for herself. And the first time she was like really sick, and like my mom and I came over to help take care of her, she was like, what is happening? We were like, yeah,
Oh
babe,
my God.
you have a sister now. Like, I'm
Oh,
here,
no,
whether
that's
you
so
want me to be
nice.
or not, you know?
That's so beautiful.
Oh no, it's great. I
That's
love,
really sweet.
taking in only children, as you can see with Maddie.
Well, it's funny. I actually have been thinking a lot about that, like about how like our society is so nuclear family oriented, but
Hmm.
I think the younger generations are like prioritizing friendship in that way. Like people
Yeah.
are like living near each other and buying houses together. Like I live with Nina LaCour and I bought that. Do you know her? She's a writer. We
Hmm.
bought our house together. So she
Aw,
lives downstairs and I live upstairs. I kind of love that idea
I
that
love
friends
that.
is family. And
Yes.
then there aren't that many only children then.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I also think, and your books kind of touch on this as well, but like we have, my godfather and like a couple other people in our family are of like the LGBTQ plus community, and that's a very much a, your family or like your chosen family kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
always grew up with that mentality, but I feel like we kind of see that. With like Noah's journey as well, kind of finding his place in his hive.
Yeah. I kind of feel that with all the characters. I feel over and over again, I think with the young narrators, they're just want to belong. And I
Hmm.
think that then they all I realize that like all the books that I've written kind of the belonging they find is in other people. And that
Yeah.
refuge and shelter is in their friends or
Hmm.
love interests or family.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
I do want to ask you, so normally I start off with this question, but we just got into it
yeah.
because, but how did you first start writing, first start publishing? Did you always know you wanted to write YA?
Okay, it's actually a very strange and long story, but I'll keep it or shorter. So what the weird thing with me is I'm a very late bloomer. I
Hmm.
didn't write a word of fiction until I was 40. Like not one word.
Wow.
I'd never even written a short story in my life.
I
So
can't
I'm
even
kind of
believe that.
really all for the late bloomers. Like I feel like our society is so geared towards like the ingenue, like 35 under 30 or
Yes.
whatever, that all that
Hmm.
stuff. And so but what happened with me is I actually always wanted to write poetry. That's all wrote. Like I wrote in high school, and then when I went to college, I studied creative writing, and I just assumed I was a poet. And like I got my MFA in poetry in my early
Hmm.
20s, and I just thought that that was me. And then I became a literary agent, and I wrote poetry, still, but
Mm.
I love fiction. I mean, that's like my heart. And when I was a literary agent, I love literary fiction. I love voice-driven fiction. But I did never ever thought that I would ever write any. And I didn't think I could. I didn't think I had the
Yeah.
wheelhouse, or it just wasn't my thing. And then I started getting obsessed with picture books, like really
Yeah.
obsessed, like because I love visual art, and I was started just kept finding myself in the children's bookstore, like into the children's book section, and like just obsessing on the picture books. And I was like, I really want to write picture books, because as a poet, that's.
Hmm.
And then I realized how hard that was. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to get another MFA in children's writing. I also like to go back to school a lot. And so I was
Yes.
like 40, and I like got this. I went to get an MFA in children's literature. And when I was there, the first night I read poetry, because that's all I had to read. And there was this young woman in the audience who's amazing. And she happened to be an editor. And she said, you know what, you should write a YA verse novel. And I was like, what's that? I don't even like, since
Yeah.
when has there been YA verse novels?
Hmm.
Um, and so I started doing a ton of research, and I was like, yes, I'm going to write a YA verse novel. And so that's how The Sky is Everywhere sort of started. And luckily I was in a grad program, so I had mentors, which was
Hmm.
incredible.
Yeah.
So I started writing Lenny's story. She was a character that just fell into my head, and I
Hmm.
had suffered this really terrible loss. And so I wanted to write about a girl who lost her sister. And so I wanted to write, I thought it would be a YA novel where she was writing her poems and just leaving them all around town.
Yeah.
Like that's still in the book, but I thought the
Hmm.
whole book would be that. But then I realized as I was doing that I had to write prose, there was no connective tissue. It just wasn't working as fiction. And luckily I had this mentor who was just like, just go for it, just go for it, just do it. And I thought, well, no one's ever going to see it anyway. So I went for it, and that's how it happened. And I was terrified, honestly, to write fiction. And she just gave me such great advice. She was just like, just get inside your character and let it rip. And so I was
Is she
like,
the one who's still your first reader?
no, but that was
Okay.
Deb Wiles, who's an
Okay.
amazing middle grade author. She's just a wonderful writer. And she changed my life because she was so encouraging. And so that's how that book happened. So that's how I started writing fiction. And then
Hmm.
I was addicted. Like I was so into it. Like it just solved all these things
Yeah.
emotionally and psychologically. I couldn't believe that I had this whole other world that I got to enter every day, that I got to live
Hmm.
two lives at once. And it was just like, I was like, this clicks. This is the best thing ever. So that's how it started. Now I'm in torture, but yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, because we've talked about this before a little bit. So Maddie still currently writes poetry, which I think is amazing. Um,
Mhm.
I also thought I wanted to be a poet and wrote poetry all through high school, took my first poetry class in college and was like, oh, I'm not very good at this. And
No.
then took my first fiction class and was like, oh, I love this.
Mm,
And kind of had that same like turn once I started writing fiction. I just, or prose, I just couldn't stop. So that's funny that you had a similar journey. Do you still write poetry as well?
I do, but I think that it makes makes my process writing fiction just a little difficult, because I feel like I don't write like other fiction, like a lot of fiction writers, they just write, right? Like
Yeah.
they just sit at the computer and they write. That's how I imagine it anyway.
Yeah.
But like I feel like I sort of locked in every paragraph, and
Hmm.
like it's a poem kind of. And so it almost like it I work inward out, like so that like even to learn who the character is, it's almost like I work within the paragraph and to
Hmm.
find them. So I think, yeah, I think it makes me work a little differently.
But I feel like you can really tell that with your writing though. Like it is so like lyrical in a way that every single word counts. I mean, one of oh my gosh. Oh, sorry. His name like went and then came back. One of my mom's favorite authors is Pat Conroy, because he writes so lyrically, and I
Mhm.
feel like you have a very similar like I don't know, whimsy to every word. So I kind of love that you almost have this poetic approach to it. Like I really do think that shows in the work itself. you know?
Oh, cute. That makes me happy.
Okay, so you got your MFA, you started writing. You had already been a literary agent, so like, how did that help you getting into the publishing side of things as an author?
Okay, I think so when I finished that program, I had that manuscript of The Sky Is Everywhere. It was done. I mean,
Mm,
it's never that process of writing that novel was it's never been like that again. Like I
mhm,
wrote the first
Mhm.
draft in like 4 months and then spent a year and a half revising.
mhm,
But oh my God, it took me 10 years to write when the world tips over, you know. So it's
mhm,
you're
yeah.
only lucky I maybe that once. So being an agent, but it was interesting because I didn't know any children's agents because
Mm,
I didn't represent children's writers and I didn't know it's such a different world completely.
mhm,
So I kind of took my advice that I would give to writers. Like I sort of, picked 4 or 5 of my top people, wrote a query letter, and I just was really lucky, honestly, with that because people liked it. And so I got to pick who I wanted to be with. And so I
wow.
feel like it was, and, I really talked to everybody. And what I would always say when I was an agent to other writers is that you really need to, when you meet an agent, you just want to feel like they have the same vision of your work as you do and
Mhm.
your career as well. And also, you really want to get along with them. And so I went with Pippin because I mean, I love them and I love William Steig and he was with them. And he's also a late bloomer.
Nice.
He didn't start writing till his 60s, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I just
so
love hearing that.
encouraging. It
I know.
really
Oh, me
is.
too. If you want more, I have a whole list because I have to
Oh,
go back to it sometimes when I feel like, because sometimes I feel like, oh my God, getting so old. And then I think, oh my God, he didn't even start until he was like
Yeah.
62.
yeah. Yeah, that is really, really helpful to hear. I'd love to hear also, The Sky is Everywhere obviously turned into a movie, which is great. You wrote the screenplay for it. What was that process like? Had you ever written a screenplay before? Was it weird adapting your own work?
No, it honestly was easy. Like I feel like I loved it. Feel like writing screenplays is because it's much more like poetry, honestly.
Mm,
There's a
Mhm.
form, it's a very strict form. Every word has to do a ton. And and also you want the screenplay to have a voice.
mm,
So the directional language, you can really play with it and have fun. And so I felt like in some ways it was more natural to me than writing a novel. So the books, I think what happened, I'm trying to remember the order of event, it was different. Like in those days, Hollywood was there was a lot of money, things were happening.
mhm.
Right now it's a bit dead because of the pandemic and then the 2 strikes and just
Yep.
all the streaming and everything. So the books were optioned and
Mhm.
Skies Everywhere was optioned by Warner Brothers. It was optioned actually by Selena Gomez and her mother. Selena Gomez was going to play
Oh,
Lenny. Yeah, this
wow.
was like a long time ago. It was really
Yeah.
exciting. And then, but I wasn't attached as a writer because again, I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know how to write a screenplay.
Right, yeah.
And then that kind of fell through and Warner Brothers optioned it. And I think, did they have a writer? I think it was with them. I was like, you know what? Let me try to write it. So I wrote it for Warner Brothers and then the whole company collapsed, all the executives left as that
Mhm.
happens. And then so like it took years and then A24 bought it from Warner Brothers and
Mhm.
then that's how it
Yeah.
happened. But yeah, it's this wildest thing. I hope it happens for you guys because walking onto a set is like walking into your own mind.
That's so cool.
It is so cool and it's so weird. Like I sobbed the whole time.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
seeing Graham's garden, like really seeing things that have only ever been in your head. It's the
Yeah.
coolest thing ever.
Ugh.
And the process was so interesting because like the artistic director would call you up and say, well, what is Lenny's what is her clarinet case look like? And I'm like, fuck do I know?
Right?
But I'm like, you have to tell them.
Yeah.
Like, and so you have to really think about it. And like things like what's in her dresser drawers? I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, this is so cool. Like the
That's
reality of it.
amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible. And to see the
Oh,
actors and it was
Oh,
wild.
that's
It
well, I
so
was
was gonna
fun.
say, I have to ask, what was Jason Segel like? Because he is one of my
so
Hollywood
great.
crushes. He seems like the
He's
nicest person.
so, so amazing. He's really, really wonderful. He
Oh,
was
I
so
love that.
great.
I love to
Yeah.
hear that. That's so cool.
It was
No, I
funny. I
just
remember, oh, sorry.
no, go for it.
Because he's a writer too. So it's
Mhm.
like when we met, he said, I was really surprised that the movie is so different than the book. And I thought that was interesting, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
But it's a little hard when when you're adapting your own work too, because the process, so much of the screenplay and so much of what is shot doesn't get in the
Yeah.
movie. And it's hard because we're such control freaks as novelists. Like you
Mhm.
want
Yeah.
everything to be just the way you want it. And like, and even things like there was a couple times in the movie, but like you'd set up a joke and then they wouldn't put the punchline. You're like, oh my, what the fuck? But
Well,
I love the director so much. She's amazing. But yeah, it's
that's
hard
what I was
as a
going to
writer.
ask is like, as a writer, we work with editors and, publishers and all that kind of stuff. So we're used to having some collaboration because we have to. But like for a screenplay, once you send it, I mean, the director, the editor, they really have the ultimate say. So how was that kind of handing
Hard.
over that control?
It's hard. It is
Yeah.
hard. Like I said, because I do think that the novelist control freak is a true thing,
Yeah.
And I was so excited when I got to go back to my novel because it was like, oh my God, I can do anything I want. Anything can happen. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's difficult. It's difficult, but it was also a really great experience. And I love Josephine Decker, who directed it, and she's an amazing director. But the editing, my God, too. I mean, they cut a lot.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Really
I
hard.
believe it. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's, because we have such examples like Pat Conroy or Stephen King who have their books turned into movies that they're like, I don't recognize that as something. So I
Yeah.
love that you got to have some control at least over it. That's always my dream of like, if one of my books get, and I've never written a screenplay, I don't know anything about it, but like to think of somebody else
Yeah.
writing it
Yeah.
hurts a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. You should try it. You should try it if
Yeah.
yeah. Because I think, yeah, it's a great it was a really interesting process too. And I actually
Okay.
wrote the TV series for I'll Give You the Sun. I wrote the pilot and the deck, and
Cool.
I know, but it's we'll see what happens, but fingers
Yeah.
crossed. But yeah,
Oh my gosh, that'd be such a great TV show.
I
Oh
wish.
my
I wish.
gosh.
I
That'd be
know.
amazing. Come on,
I
Apple TV, let's do it.
I know. I wish one day.
Oh my gosh. I want to transition just a little bit, and we were talking about some of the stuff going on in the world a little bit, but how do you handle, or like what is it like having your book on a banned book list?
It's horrible. It's really
Yeah.
horrible. Like
Yeah.
I
Okay.
get like pretty much like once a week, twice a week. Once a week, once a month, like whatever, twice a month. I get letters from kids, from librarians, from say like this one
Mm.
librarian told me the story of the book I'll Give You the Sun was literally pulled out of a kid's hand while he was
Oh
reading. And it's
God.
heartbreaking. It's really,
And
really
it's
Yeah.
heartbreaking. Yeah.
It's such a
Mhm.
life-changing book too, like especially that age, that time, like that's crazy.
And also
Um,
how librarians they're like on the front line
mhm.
of this war. I mean, and they're
Yeah.
unbelievable. When I was at the American Library Association this past year and talked to so many librarians, like they're incredible. Like they have also, they have their secret libraries now.
Yeah.
It's dangerous. Like, and they take all these risks to get the right book into the kids' hands. And
Mm.
I can't really believe this is our times. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It makes me think of gosh, I'm blanking on the title, but Celeste Ng's latest book, where the librarians are like basically doing an underground railroad of like children who've been taken from their families and stuff. And it really is always the librarians like
yeah,
doing the hard work and like being protective and all that stuff. But I always wonder, Jodi Picoult speaks out so much about having her book bans and stuff. Have you like found any community amongst other authors who are banned books, or like is there anything, not
to
anything you
do.
can do, but yeah.
I feel like I'm not doing enough, but like there's definitely a lot of groups. There's
Okay.
authors against banned books, and there's and I just feel like anything you can do, especially depending where you live. If you live I
Hmm.
mean, I live in San Francisco, which is very liberal, but it's,
Yeah.
if you live in
I'm
places,
stuck in Florida, so
that-
it's
that's
rough.
good. It's good. It's good though. I mean, you can make
Yeah.
a it's there. I feel like you
Yeah.
can, and I feel like the librarians need support.
Mm-hmm.
They really do need support, and to know that, that that the community at large is like aware of what's going on, and.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also think people should get on library boards and school boards and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm.
that's really smart. I used to work at an independent bookstore, and the county that we were in, Orange County, Florida, um, preemptively pulled 700 books from the shelf because they didn't want to have to deal with parents. And so my bookstore ordered every single one of those books, and any student who came in and showed their Orange County ID could pick one out for free. And that was a
That's
really inspirational
so
thing. I will tell you, I pushed I'll Give You the Sun a lot.
Oh, that makes me so happy. That makes me
Just
so happy. That's
yeah.
amazing. I mean, I feel like there are like such great organizations too. There's that van that goes around, like
Hmm.
like the library,
Yeah.
and goes
Yeah.
to the communities where the books are banned and just gives out the books. And
Hmm.
that's like, I would love to do that actually. That's such a great thing.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
so wonderful that your bookstore did that.
Yeah, it was really great. It was a cool thing. It was hard getting the word out, but once we did, because it was over the summer, like right before the school year started, and so once we kind of got the word out, there was just the flood of students coming in. That was great. I also,
That's also so sad. Sorry to interrupt. Like that
oh
is so
yeah,
sad. Like it just kills me. Like,
hmm
because I get a lot of letters from kids, and it's
hmm
every day about what the books mean to them, and it just kills me that
yeah,
they aren't able to read them in school.
absolutely. I do
Mm.
want to like. Do you remember your first piece of fan mail?
Mm. I don't think I remember my first, but
Or like the feeling, like
oh,
just
it's yeah.
having you say that kids write to you, like I was that kid who I didn't write to celebrities or whatever else. I have a letter from when I was in fifth grade that I wrote to Lemony Snicket, so like I
Right.
always wrote to authors, but
Yeah.
I can't imagine like it really would be, I think I'd like cry and faint if I ever got a piece of fan mail about one of my books. Like, what is that like?
It's like crying and fainting. It really is.
Yeah.
It's the most beautiful thing in the world. It's
Oh.
so incredible. And especially because my first book was, wait, I have to plug this in. My first book was about grief.
Mhm.
So sorry.
You're okay. You're fine.
Um, so a lot of the kids that wrote suffered tremendous loss
Oh,
Mm.
yeah.
at really young ages.
Hmm.
And so it was really also really moving and touching and sad and
Hmm.
Yeah.
heartbreaking, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang. Well, I think that's one of the things that I love the most about The Sky is Everywhere, though, is that it's about grief, and it's also about like love and discovery, and like that push and pull of this person understands my grief, and I can stay in this grief bubble with them. And this person makes me feel like the world continues to turn. And I had never read a book like that dealt with grief, that recognized like, I know this is wrong, but it feels good. Like I feel that connection to the person who I lost before. So I love the push and pull of that book and of that sense of grief, because it's such a complicated emotion.
Especially for such a young person.
Yes,
And to
absolutely.
really, and to feel like you finally found somebody who understands what you're feeling, and
Hmm.
even how wrong that is, but there's no solace like that. And
Yeah.
then for me, then this other Joe really represents life in a way, and just
Yeah.
moving on. And I felt like in that book I was trying to, maybe in all the books really, that like writing about joy and sorrow in the most cramped quarters, and how they
Hmm.
are like they're hidden in each other always.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I think that's what I come at again and again.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, in this era of, not even this era, but especially for YA, there's always the, Team Jacob, Team Edward. And like now with The Summer I Turned Pretty, there's, Team Conrad, Team Jeremiah. And I never felt that way with The Sky is Everywhere. I never felt like, obviously I did like, oh my gosh, Joe Ambrose,
Yeah.
but it always felt like, oh, one of them provides something for her that the other person can never conceptualize or understand. And I really loved that it wasn't like a typical YA love triangle. Like that wasn't the purpose of the story. I think that you handled that really nicely because so many YA books are so romance forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Thank you for saying that. That makes me happy. It was interesting about that book too, is because I was, I felt like I learned everything Lenny learned in that book right
Mhm.
along with her. Like I didn't know how to deal with grief
Yeah.
myself when I was writing that book.
Mhm.
And it just was like one of these things where I just really felt like she finally gets to that point where she's like, grief and love are conjoined. You can't have one
Mhm.
without the other. And that was my revelation. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
thank you, Lenny, for telling me this.
See, that's the best part of being a pantser, Maddie, is that
Yeah.
sometimes our characters say stuff and we're like, I didn't
Thank
know that.
God. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a
Right.
funny story about that. So when I was writing I'll Give You the Sun, I was in one of those states where like, I can't do this. It's
Mhm.
terrible. It's never going to be done. It was like
Mhm.
due. I was like a years late as usual. And I was like lying on my bed and then Guillermo appeared before me. I swear to God. And I don't think I fell asleep. Everyone's like, of course you fell asleep, but I
Yeah.
didn't. And he was there and he was like so there that he was sweating and he was
Oh,
like I could and he had this voice, his like voice and his accent and he's
was
like,
he angry with you? Because I feel like he's
yeah,
often angry.
yeah. He was like and I said to him, I said, I can't be writing another book about grief. And he's
Mhm.
like, Jandy, this book is not about grief. This book is about second chances. And I was like, holy
Mhm.
fuck, you're right. It was like the biggest revelation of that book
Yeah.
when I realized that. It was so
Mhm.
helpful. But I didn't know it on my own.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I think if G
I love
appeared to
that.
me, I'd be so scared.
Your character?
No,
Oh,
if Guillermo
Guillermo.
appeared to me, I'd
Yeah.
be terrified.
Well, he's my secret husband, so I'm not
Oh,
terrified of him.
perfect. Okay, no, he's very intimidating to me. I'm like, I just want to impress you so badly, sir. You know?
You know what's funny? This I can't believe I'm saying this, telling you this, but this writer from Italy wrote me
Mhm.
on Instagram, and he looks like Guillermo. Exactly. In
Oh.
my mind. I
Hello.
was like, oh my God, Guillermo's writing me. This is the weirdest thing that's ever happened. And of course,
That's
he
so
has his own
cute.
life and his own everything. But in my
Yeah.
mind, I'm like just thinking, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
That's so funny.
I love that so much. That's so cute. So we talked about how much we love school, obviously, and I've told Maddie this before, but my senior year of undergraduate, I said to my mentor, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And he looks at me, he's like, you're gonna go to grad school, you're gonna get your MFA, you're gonna teach, and then you're gonna audit classes, and you're gonna be a student for life. And I was like,
Great.
done. That sounds great.
Yeah.
And so I
Can I
saw,
join up?
right. I
Yeah.
saw on your website that you're like, I don't know, I might go back for some other MFA, whatever.
Yeah.
And I know how much you love visual art. Do you think you would ever try writing comic books?
Oh my God. It never even occurred to me. But I love that idea. Like I
I,
have thought about graphic novel, but
Graphic novels,
only
yeah.
in adapting,
right.
adapting mine. I've never
Mhm.
really, I just, um, that's so interesting. I don't know if I could you just do that if you're not an illustrator, like comic books?
Yeah, I mean, again in my undergraduate, I took a comic book writing class, and we were paired with an artist, so it was 7 writers and 7 art majors, and we wrote
Wow.
3 comics throughout the semester and rotated partners and stuff, and it was so cool learning how to do that collaboration. The first one that we wrote was about mermaid sirens, and my artist did the entire thing in watercolors, and I was like,
Oh, how beautiful.
that's amazing. How did you
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah.
So, there are artists out there, I'm sure, and you love writing scripts so much that that's basically what comic writing is. Stanley, his Marvel style of writing comics is he would basically write the story and be like, on this page, 6 panels, this thing happens. This is the dialogue. And then his artists could really run with it. And there are some comic writers that are much more, this panel says this panel says this, but I feel like that could be a great new adventure for you is
Oh my
comic
gosh.
books. It
Oh my
sounds like it
God.
fits all of your
It
boxes,
would
you
have to
Yeah,
know?
that'd
be.
be so fun.
Would it be long? So I don't. because like I've never written a short
Mhm.
story or anything really
Mhm.
short. Like with comic books, it would be very contained, wouldn't it? It would be like, aren't they
It
like,
can
I
be.
haven't read a
So,
comic book in ages. Recommend a comic you like, because I know nothing about comics.
it's also a TV show on Netflix, but Alice Osman's Heartstoppers
I love her.
is young YA LGBT, and the art is very black and white simple. Um, but hers are, I want to say there are 5 volumes out. So it's kind of, it
But
is
you would call that a
contained.
comic? You call that a comic and not a graphic novel?
So I call everything a comic book. But there is an argument, and I want to say that maybe George R. R. Martin actually did it, but that basically by calling something a graphic novel, you are trying to separate it from the originality of the comic book and by elevating it
Mm,
so that it's acceptable to society.
right,
So
right.
I call everything a comic book, but
Interesting.
in the industry, yeah, it would be a graphic novel.
The graphic
Yeah.
novel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, there are some comic books. There's a series that I love called The Wicked and the Divine, and it was written in single issue, and then they released something called a trade that's like the first 6 issues in one book. And then they release the compendium that's like the first 20 issues in one book. So they
Wow.
become graphic novels,
Mhm.
even though they were originally published as floppy comic books. But
Mm.
just
I love it.
again,
I love the
thinking
idea.
well, just in your books are already so visual, and like thinking about the way that The Skies Everywhere was adapted into this be like it was just so colorful and fun to
Mhm.
see it on the screen that I feel like you could have some really fun comic books with
Oh
your
my God.
storytelling.
I love that. I love that idea. And I love Alice Osman.
Hmm.
We went on a little mini tour together when we were in England, when I
Aw.
was in
Mhm.
England. Yeah,
Oh,
it was cool.
nice.
And she was so young. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Her first book, it was her first book. It was Radio Silence. I think that's what it's called. Have you
Okay.
read?
Yeah. I haven't read that one
Yeah.
yet.
And she wrote it like, it's an incredible novel. It's beautiful.
Hmm.
And she was like 19, I think. I know. I know that could kill it.
Tell me
Yeah.
more
Late
65 year
bloomer,
olds.
62. 62-year-old William Steig again and
Yes.
again. But I
Oh
love
my
that idea.
gosh.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will. And then in like 10 years, I'll say, yes, it was because I did this podcast and Abigail said to do it. So I did it.
Listen, as long as I get an arc,
Awesome.
that's all I care about.
Kind of
Oh my
cool.
gosh. I love that. I love it so much. So I do want to kind of ask you, you've mentioned a lot of other writers along the way. What does your current writing community look like?
It's funny. I'm a very private like writer. I don't really like to share
Mhm.
work until very, very late in the process. I don't even like to
Relatable.
send it to my you too.
Yeah.
Do you?
But
Oh yeah.
I don't like sharing it with anybody unless it's like completely polished and ready.
I know it's terrible. I'm the same way. And so it's like I usually like I don't even like sending it to my agent,
Wow.
until it's like I also feel like people's first reads, people only have so many reads in them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
also to judge momentum and momentum's so important. And so
Hmm.
I kind of don't want to waste my agent's first read and
Mhm.
also my editors. So I usually have other people, two people, first readers, my mother and my sister-in-law, honestly, because they're really nice. And it's usually such a disaster. And I know and then
My
I
mom
go
is
to
my first reader too.
yeah, I know, because they're so she's like, "This is
Yep.
so great, darling."
Yeah.
Not really, not my mom, but then the last book, When the World Tips Over, I think I didn't go to them first. I think I went to my two mentors from my second MFA program, and then my agent and editor. So that's that. But then
Mm,
in terms of my community, I live with Nina, so
mm.
we I don't really share work with her early, but we do go writing together. Like we'll go to the cafe and
Oh.
write side
Nice.
by side. And I love that. It's so nice.
Hmm.
And I have a friend, Mariana Bear, who's a great writer, a great YA writer who I met in my MFA program. And she really helps me the most because I talk through all my books, the plots with her. Like she doesn't read it till a much later day, like sometimes not even till arcs, but like
Mm.
she just knows everything. So I've already ruined all the momentum. And so like all the plot problems,
Hmm.
like so she helps me a lot and I try to help her a lot too. Um, but I don't have a writing group or a critique group but I do know
Mhm.
a lot of and hang out
Mm.
with a lot of writers, but yeah, so
But honestly, I feel like that's just as important because it's just like my first day in grad school was the first time that I felt like I could really say like, oh, I'm writing a novel. And people didn't look at me like, okay. So just being around other writers like who understand it, who
Yeah.
understand the process of like, oh my gosh, I'm on my third draft and I cannot figure out this plot hole or issue or whatever else. So I love that you have other people who just understand.
Oh, me too. I mean, it's so necessary. And that's why I actually loved listening to your podcast so much, like over these last few days, because there's such a sense of camaraderie.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And just like, and you guys are so great, and talking about your
Aw.
own work with each other, or talking about, with the if you have a guest. And it was just, I just found it so comforting. It's like we're all in this together, and it can be
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
hard. And also, it also, who was I reading just the other day? Who was saying this? Oh, it was Ian McEwan was being interviewed on the New Yorker Radio Hour.
Mhm.
And because all of us writers, we constantly bellyache about how hard it is and stuff. And he's just like, it's actually not that hard. Like, a lot of us, we don't even have a boss.
Yeah.
You can do whatever the hell you want. So there is that part of it too. We're so lucky. Like, what a
Yeah.
better way to live than to
Mhm.
write stories. But it is true
Mhm.
that it can be, when it's not going well. I think the biggest problem with writing is that meme that used to be on Twitter, like
Mm.
what something is in your mind and then what it really is. Remember that
Yes.
meme where it was like a castle and then it would be like ruins and
Yes,
mud.
exactly. Yes,
And that's really what
exactly.
it is, because the problem is like with when the world tips over, I see it all. I can see what I want it to be,
Mhm.
but
Mm.
getting it there takes forever. And
Yeah.
I actually find the beginning of writing a book so difficult, because when you don't know your characters,
Hmm.
so hard for me to continue on until I feel like I know them, but you can only know them by continuing on. So you're kind of
Yes.
in
Yeah.
that horrible space for so long.
Yes. That's why I think my second draft is my least favorite because my first draft, I finally like find my stride and get through it. And then second draft, I go back and start rereading and I'm like, this character would never say this. Who wrote this? Like, that's not
Yeah.
who this character is because I have to develop them as I go.
But I like, you were saying on another of your podcast that you write pretty straight through with your first
Mhm.
draft,
Yeah.
which is great. I mean, that
Yeah.
you can just push through. And I
Yeah.
think that's wonderful. Like,
I
I
just have
think
to force myself
Maddie
to do
would,
it.
yeah, I know it's hard. It's really, really hard. You were saying, I think, that you get a little bit stuck, right? With,
Always.
yeah,
Constantly.
me too.
Yeah.
Me
I thought
too.
it was funny
Except for
because
that
earlier
first
you were
book.
talking about how when you write, like you think you write different than other writers because you think other writers just sit down and write it down. I don't do that. I write
Yeah.
I write a little bit and then I'm like, I have a outline. I know exactly what I need to do, but I don't know how to write. I don't know any words in the English language anymore.
No, me
I don't know how to
neither.
type anymore.
No, me
Just
neither.
like
What is
let's
plot?
down.
What is character? It's funny, in this interview with Ian McEwan, he also said that um someone was interviewing him at some point, and he was saying that he writes like 500 words a day or something like that, or 1,500 words a day or
Nice.
something,
Good
but
for
they
him.
misinterpreted and wrote 15 words. So for all these years, like, everybody always says to him, so you only write 15 words a day. And I was like, that's me. I write 15 words a day. No,
Yeah.
it's hilarious.
That's a good day too.
Right, exactly.
But
Hey,
what
but
is
those
it?
15 words count.
They do.
Ooh.
I think Oscar Wilde has that incredible quote that is it gives me solace, which is like, what is it? Um, in the morning, I moved the comma, whatever, 3 sentences in the afternoon, whatever, I moved it back.
Yes, yes,
You did some
absolutely.
hard work.
Yes, exactly.
That is
It
just so
happens.
accurate.
They get done. I mean, your book
Yeah.
is done.
Yeah.
You said
Yeah.
you're in
So
one of you's
I'm
in editing and one of you's done, I think.
Yeah, so I'm currently querying my first book and editing my second book, and Maddie's in
Amazing.
the editing trenches.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wrote the book and then it's like you were talking about how you picture it in your head. And then I read it and it's like I had this like beautiful mansion in my head. And then I read it and I was like, this is like a 4-year-old drawing a picture of a house. This is
Oh, I know,
not
but
at
you might
all.
be you might be wrong though. That's the thing. It's like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
We're
Because you're
always
like,
our
oh
harshest
God.
critic.
Yes. And like there is a point, I do believe in this, where you have to abandon the project. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it's just you get to that point. I mean, who was saying, one famous writer was saying that they reading their own work is like, this is gross, but throwing up in their mouth.
Yeah.
It is
No.
And
though.
it's like that it's hard to read your own work. It's just like you're
Mhm.
like, oh, like, and I hate it. Like I
Yeah.
definitely one of those writers where you could find me in the bookstore with a red pen, like fixing the skies
Yes.
everywhere, and I'll give you the sun. Like, oh my God, how could I let and when you give readings,
Yeah.
oh my God, I
Mhm.
edit everything.
That's so
Uh,
funny. Oh my gosh, I love that so
So
much.
you could really work forever on one book. I mean,
Mhm.
it's
definitely.
true.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of why I feel like I have to just keep pushing forward because I know that I'm never going to love it. And I'm like, you know what? I have to just get it over with.
Mhm.
Whereas, Maddie definitely has a bit more patience with herself to be like, no, I know that I can make this better. And I'm like, no, I cannot make this any better. I have to move on.
It's good. I mean, I think, yeah, both I relate to both of you completely in
Mhm.
those. I mean, with When the World Tips Over, I really thought I had years more work on it, and
Mhm.
maybe I did, but like I think in that one, my editor was like, "This is done."
Listen,
I
I'm so
was
happy
like,
it came out because those 10 years my mom and I were jonesing for the
"Oh,
next one. And I got the arc and I called my mom and I was like, Jandy Nelson has a new book.
that's so nice. Oh my God, that is so nice."
Oh my gosh. So we have a little bit of time left. I'd love to ask two more questions. The first one is your characters are that perfect borderline between like realistic teenager and aspirational, a little bit precocious teenager. And like they feel super realistic, like the art kids and the band kids that I went to school with. Do you have teenagers in your life, or like how do you get the voice of a teenager so accurate?
Oh, that's so nice of you to say. I do have, I mean, I had, nieces and nephews. Now they're grown. I still have them, but
Yeah.
now as
Yeah.
time passes, it's like I
Mhm.
can't use you guys anymore.
Right.
But I do have young people in my life, definitely, and I'm a very good eavesdropper,
Mhm.
planting myself
Mhm.
certain places. But I also feel like that my teen characters, this is, I think, why it's what I was saying before. It's so hard for me to go on until I know them.
Yeah.
Like, even as a reader, I'm obsessed with interiority. And as a writer, I need to know what their interior world is like
Mhm.
in such detail. Like, I want to know everything they love and everything they hate and really what makes them tick. And so I think there's a point like Noah is probably the most like me,
Mm.
and he couldn't be,
Mhm.
he's a boy, he's
Yeah.
gay, he's 13. I mean, like,
Mhm. Yeah.
couldn't really be any more different, but like I just feel like it, until I have the character and know them at that level, I think that that's what I
Mhm.
really strive to do. And so I don't really think of like, oh, kids today, what do they speak like? I just
Mhm.
only think about the one character, like, and just really try to get in touch with their unique soul
Mhm.
and spirit.
Mhm.
So that's how I try to do it.
I love
Whether,
that. That
yeah,
makes so much sense.
I
yeah,
love that.
Because the voice of Cassidy versus the voice of Dizzy, they're so vibrant in completely different ways. And it's just great. Like I loved reading the two of them and
that
them
makes me so
interacting with one
happy.
another. And it was just it was really lovely. It was great.
It's funny when Nina read it finally, she just texted me and she was like, "They're all you." And I
Oh.
do think that's part. And they kind of go back
Mhm.
to what Deb Wiles said to me when I
Mhm.
first, started writing fiction. She said, just get into Lenny's character and let it rip. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's the sort of what you have to do with every character. I mean, it's so obvious, but it's hard, like we said, but it's hard to let it rip until you really know them. But once you
Right.
do, that's the
Yeah.
real pleasure of it,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, well, we have one last question before we have to go.
Okay.
But if an author was to take away one piece of advice from this episode, what would you want them to walk away with?
Oh my gosh. Well, can I say two things? One,
Yes,
just
of
relating back.
course.
Okay, so the thing that I think is so important is that let it rip comment,
Mhm.
and also what we were just talking about, like you want your characters to be utterly uniquely themselves, but at the same time, you really are putting all of yourself into them
Mhm.
as well. And so there
Mhm.
is, even if it's a villain, even if it's the most villainous, heinous creature on the planet, it's still it's still your creation. And
Mhm.
so I feel like the most important thing is to be yourself. Like, not really try to write like anyone else. Just as much as you can, be yourself. All your everythings, all your idiosyncrasy, all the things you hate, all the things you love, all the things that make you you are gonna, I think, make your characters more unique. So I think
Mhm.
just really like almost having a funnel head and just
Mhm.
pouring all of you into the book. So that would be one advice. Is I think Oscar Wilde, he said, "Be yourself. Everybody else is already taken." I think
Mhm.
that's very good writing advice, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that helped me the most is I was studying with Edmund White, and he's really great. It was a literature class for writers,
Mhm.
and he said, "You got to remember to curb towards joy." And I
Mm.
love that because he was like, you're in your room, you're all alone, you're typing, you're like, I'm so lonely. All my friends are at the beach, all my friends are having fun, and I'm just sitting here writing again. And so
Mhm.
you can get really gloomy. And he just said you have to curb towards joy. And I just love that. Like I love
Mhm.
that. I think about that in terms of writing, but I also think about that in terms of life. I mean, I just find that the
Mhm.
best advice, period. It's like,
Well, and I love
Mhm.
that so much because so many young authors feel like they have to be doom and gloom in order to be taken seriously or be literary or whatever. So I love that advice. Curb towards joy. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Or
That's
just
so good.
compensate, because our
Hmm.
tendency is to, I mean, also, as we talked about before, like writing is drama and conflict, and there's going to
Hmm.
be a
Hmm.
lot of pain and heartache.
Hmm.
So, to remember to
Yeah.
be a little balanced.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Well,
I'm Abigail.
and I'm Maddie, and this has been
Two writers.
Many Wrongs.